What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, where I answer your questions. Today we're talking about where the Overwatch story is going, mutant plant characters, and more. Today's video is sponsored by Audible. You can get a free audiobook to keep forever and support the channel by using the link down below. If you haven't tried audiobooks yet, now's a great chance. Even if you decide to cancel, you still get to keep the book that you picked, and there's a great no-hassle return policy where you can exchange any book at any time for any reasons. Today, I'm recommending Shadow of the Conqueror, which is by Shad M. Brooks. He is actually a fellow YouTuber named Shadiversity, so this is an interesting opportunity where you can support not one, but two content creators, because yes, he still gets paid even if you use your free credit. So don't delay, sign up now, link down below. First question of the day. Jeff Kaplan said the new hero wouldn't be released as soon as we think. When do you think it's going to be? Well, it seems like they're just kind of shuffling around the summer schedule. The summer games, the way he was talking, I would think that it's probably going to start within the next week or two, and then Hero 31 will probably get released sometime early August. Next up, could a character that has a persistent damage over time passive aura be viable in Overwatch? I don't think so, because if it's a persistent thing, meaning that it's always there, it never goes away, the damage on it would have to be really, really low, or the area would have to be really, really small. In either case, if it's always on, then it's going to have to be incredibly weak, and I don't think that's really going to do all that much. I think an aura like that, where you just have damage over time around the character, would work fine as a normal ability, where you activate it and for the next 3 or 4 seconds you get some sort of damage that's coming out in all directions from around you. That could work, but having it on all the time? No, I don't think that would be good. Do you think the number of cosmetics added during the yearly events will increase alongside the expanding hero roster? No. I think we're going to get pretty much the same number of cosmetics for every event, regardless of if there's 20 characters, 50, or 100, or 200, it doesn't matter. They're only putting out a certain number of cosmetics for every event, and I don't think it's going to go up. If anything, what we've noticed is, over time, the number of cosmetics seems to be going down. So, no. I think we're going to get less. It just means it's going to take longer to get something for the character that you actually like to play. Next up, what is the most obvious thing that Blizzard should have added to the game but hasn't yet? I think the biggest thing is just putting the information in the game for the characters, like how much damage each character does, what their attacks are, what their movement speed is, you know, all that different stuff that you have to go and search for a wiki on, and half the stuff on the wiki isn't even accurate. A lot of the times when I do my own myth-busting videos, or I make my own guides and stuff for the different characters, I have to go and test all of that myself, because the stuff on the wiki isn't even all that reliable half the time. So I would just like to see them put that stuff in the game. Like, I don't want to have to guess on all that stuff, right? You know, just tell us what the info is, so that way we don't have to kind of try to figure it out. Next up, are there skins in the game that give characters advantages and disadvantages when you use them? So this is kind of a repeat question. I've talked about this in the past, but the answer is yes. And I'm just going to point you to the videos that I made. I'll put a link on screen and down below. Yes, there absolutely are, so you can go and check out those videos. Next up, an ability that stuns an opponent for about 2 seconds, and they don't take damage until the stun ends, and then they take all the damage at once. Would that be good or viable? I don't think so. Because not only are you completely locking down the character, but you're pretty much guaranteeing that the character will take enough damage to die when the stun runs out, because they're going to be completely stationary, right? They can't move, so you're just going to be able to keep hitting them and hitting them. That wouldn't work. However, there are other kinds of abilities that would work that are a little on the similar side. So you could have things that do delay damage, right? And generally, this would be more of a buff, right? Not a debuff, not on the enemy. You would use it on yourself. So you would activate an ability, and then it would delay the damage that you take, and then it would slowly apply or something like that. There's a couple of characters in Dota 2 that do stuff like that, where they start to take damage, but then it gets delayed, and you can actually heal up through it, and it's a pretty useful mechanic. It might actually work quite well for a support character in Overwatch. And also, there's another type of ability called a banish, which is kind of what you're talking about. It's like putting an enemy in a Mei ice block. Yeah, they can't attack, they can't use any abilities, and they can't move, but they're also completely and totally invincible during that time frame. So it takes them out of the fight for a few seconds, but they're also completely immune. So you have to use it strategically. You don't want to, obviously you wouldn't want to use something like that when an enemy is caught in a Junkrat trap or a grab or something like that. That would just be bad, right? You would end up hurting your own team. So you would have to use it at other things, but what you described would be way too strong, but parts of it could work. Next question, would a mutant plant or a character that uses plants work in Overwatch? Because PS, he has a concept that he wants to make that uses plants. So the idea of a mutant plant, I think that's stretching it a little too far. If we're talking about stuff that would actually be included, but if you're just making a hero concept for fun, then I don't see why you couldn't, right? Like, you could use a mutant plant. But would they ever add something like that to the game? I don't think so. I think that kind of pushes it a little too far. However, the idea of a character using accelerated growth on plants like vines and things like that and thorns in order to cause damage, I think that could possibly work in Overwatch. Yeah, you could have some character that uses these different things that, you know, would wrap an enemy in vines. Yeah, you could definitely do that. That would work. Now, again, as I said, if you're trying to make a hero concept and you're just making it for fun, then don't worry about whether or not they would actually add it to the game. Just make it for fun. Next question, why can't I use Symmetra's teleporter in the spawn room? I don't think they ever specifically told us why, but I think the reason is because of a cheesy little tactic you could do with Reinhardt. So your friendly Reinhardt could grab an enemy with a charge and then activate the teleporter as he goes past it, which would bring him and the enemy into your spawn room. That enemy would instantly die because they're not supposed to be in there, and it would make it impossible to res that person. And it was also just like a free insta-kill kind of thing, and Blizzard didn't like it. It really wasn't that big of an issue because you could only use it like when you're right next to your spawn room. I guess you could kind of use it a little bit better when you're on defense, because particularly with like the 2 capture point maps, right, that was a little bit more viable there. But even still, it was a really, really limited gimmicky thing, and they decided to disable it anyways. Honestly, it didn't seem like it was necessary, but hey, whatever. Next up, where is the Overwatch story going? Right into the trash. That's pretty much it. It's going into the trash. I mean, the story just... There's so many retcons in the story. There's so many internal inconsistencies. Like, I don't know. I really stopped caring about the story a long time ago. It's clear that they're just making it up as they go, rather than having any, like, maybe at one point they had some sort of full story, and I wouldn't doubt that they have at least a little bit of plans with it, but it's all over the place. It's, I don't know, into the trash. Why do we never see you using the golden weapons? I have most of them. I think I have like 26 or 27 at this point. But the reason why I don't use them is because I always have to shut them off whenever I make a video about the new character skins for an event like Archives or Summer Games or whatever, right? So if I'm going to show off a legendary skin, I want to show you what their weapon would normally look like. And if I have the golden skin on it, then you're just going to see the gold, and it kind of ruins it. So I have to go through and shut all of them off, and it's just kind of a bother. So I just leave them all off. Even though I have most of them, I just leave them off. So that way I don't have to keep turning them on and on. Maybe I'll turn 1 or 2 of them on if I'm playing a particular character for a while or something, but that's about it. What does it mean when players talk about a character's viability? They're referring to the usefulness or the effectiveness of that character. There isn't any specific numerical value that's assigned to it. It's usually talked about in more general terms, like this character has high viability or low viability or no viability whatsoever. And it can change depending on what the meta is, what map you're playing on, if it's attack, if it's defense. For example, a character like Pharah is going to be a lot more viable in a map that has wide open areas with a very high map ceiling, so you have all the room that you need in order to move around while you're up in the sky. But whenever you start going into more enclosed areas, like the end of Kings Row or the end of Route 66, where everything is much closer together and the ceiling is a lot lower, that's when Pharah's viability is going to drop quite a bit, because you don't really have the room that you would need. And other characters like Junkrat are just the reverse, right? If it's completely wide open, then the character becomes less viable, but when everything is packed in close together, then he becomes more effective and more viable. That's going to be all the questions for this week. Thank you to everyone who has submitted one. I post the question card every Saturday on the community tab of my YouTube channel. And also, don't forget, you can get your free audiobook by using the link down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.